Hello, this is Miss McCauley, and this is part 2 of finding the volume of a rectangular prism. Please check your answers from part 1 and then move on to finish the rest of this video. Complete the note check when you've finished. Okay, let's check our answers with Freddie.
Man, I better give you these answers quick and get out of here. This looks like scary territory. It looks like rocks could be falling at any minute. Anyway, the answer for problem A is 125 inches cubed. And for B, the answer is 240 feet cubed. If you got either of these answers incorrect, please stop at this point and ask your teacher for a little more help.
Okay, let's look at example number 2. Here we have a cereal box that has the dimensions that are shown, 3 1/4 inch, 12 1/2, and 8 inches. What is the volume of the cereal box? Okay, so we would want to use length times width times height. Now, I want you to notice that in this example, they did an estimate. An estimate is a great idea, especially if you're dealing with fractions, because it can give you an idea of what your answer should look like. So what they have done is they rounded all of the numbers. They rounded 3 1/4 to 3, 12 1/2 to 10, and 8 to 10. And the reason they used 10, you might be thinking, why did they choose 10? That doesn't make any sense. They chose 10 because it's close enough and it's easy to multiply by. So it gives us an idea that our answer should be somewhere around 300. If we don't get something close to 300 for our answer, we have made a mistake somewhere. So let's go ahead and see how they solve the problem with the real numbers. Volume equals 8, which is the base, times 3 1/4, the other base, times 12 1/2, which is the height. Now, if you are doing this particular unit in Power Up in your first semester, you may not have gotten to multiplying fractions yet. And so this might be really difficult for you. So I'm going to help you out by showing you how to do that. Over on the side here, you may also change your fractions into decimals. Okay, I'm going to give you some helpful hints on what the decimals are because you can handle decimals. 1/4 always equals 0.25, and we already learned in previous lessons that 1/2 equals 0.5. So you could change these numbers to volume equals 8 times 3.25 times 12.5 and plug it in your calculator and get your answer, which would be 325. They chose to use the fractions, which is fine. In order to multiply fractions, you must change mixed numbers into improper fractions. That's where we got 13 over 4, and 12 1/2 would become 25 over 2. They have cross-simplified, which you will learn. They made a mistake, though, in how they cross-simplified. Well, no, they didn't. They just changed. They made 4 times 2, which is 8, and then cross-simplified it out to 1. That's a little confusing, so I'm going to show you how I would do it. 8 over 1 times 13 over 4 times 25 over 2. In order to do this, you multiply straight across. You can also cross-simplify, which just means dividing out a common factor. 4 goes into 4 one time. 4 goes into 8 two times. However, now we have a 2 and a 2, so we can say 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into this 2 once. Now we multiply straight across. 1's across the bottom, and 13 times 25 is 325. That would be our answer, 325 cubic inches. Okay, please remember this right here. If you have fractions and you'd like to change them into decimals, that's certainly acceptable, and you can use decimals to solve the problem. Let's try to do one more problem. Let's do problem C. Okay, so right here, let me just move this to, whoops. Oh, I guess I can't move that. Oh, well. There we go. Problem C says, find the volume of a container that measures 4 inches as its length, 5 inches high, and 8 1/2 wide. I'd like to see you try this on your own, and we'll have Freddie come back with the answer in just a minute. So you will be multiplying length times width times height. Please remember that you can change 8 1/2 into an improper fraction and multiply fractions if you like, or you may change it to decimals, remembering that half equals 0.5, and you can use that instead. Either one is okay. Press pause now to solve the problem, and then Freddie will give you the answer. All right, here's Freddie with your final answer for problem C. I hope you did well with this.
Man, this place is really dangerous. Now there's bears everywhere. I've got to get out of here. So really quickly, I'm going to give you your answer. I know this is kind of a tricky problem because you had fraction or a decimal that you had to use. Hopefully you chose the path that was right for you and you got an answer of 170 inches cubed. If you didn't get 170 inches cubed, please ask your teacher for a little more help.
Hopefully you did well on that. Remember, just like Freddie said, please ask for help if you did not get 170 inches cubed. Go ahead and go to your next page, please. All right, now we get to the tough stuff. We have to be able to find the missing dimensions. And you know, when we do this, we use our algebra skills that we have been learning so far in this unit. To find missing dimensions of a rectangular prism, replace the variables with known measurements, then solve for the unknown measurement. This is what we've done before when we've done the area of a triangle and the area of a trapezoid and the area of a rectangular parallelogram. Remember our formula, volume equals length times width times height. They will always give you two of the three, or they'll give you four. There's four variables in the equation. They will give you three of them, and you have to solve for the one that is missing. So in this case, you know that the volume of this prism is 84 meters cubed. It has a base length of 4 and a base length of 6, and we do not know the height. So we fill in everything we know. 84 equals 6 times 4 times h, which we do not know. So let's go ahead and multiply what we have. 84 equals 24h. That makes sense. Now remember, just like we taught you when we were finding the area of a trapezoid, if you have something like this, 24h, that simply means 24 times h. In order to solve algebraic equations, which you guys are getting such a head start here because this is in Unit 4, to solve an equation like this, we have to undo the multiplication that's happening to h. To undo multiplication, we do the opposite operation, which is division. Whatever we do to one side of an equation, we must do to the other. So here you can see that we are dividing both sides by 24. When we do that, we find that the answer is 3.5. Okay? So the height would be 3.5. You can always test to make sure that you are correct by doing a check. That simply means take the dimensions, 6 times 4 times 3.5, which you discovered, and it should equal 84. If it does not, you did something incorrectly. If it does, you did a great job. So the answer would be 84. Let's have you try this problem on your own to see if you can do this. The volume is 94.5 kilometers cubed. The length is 7 kilometers. The height is 3. What is the width? So set your problem up. Volume, whoops, let me take that out because we know the volume. Let's write it out. 94.5 equals 7 times 3 times W. Okay, so solve that out a little bit. 94.5 equals 21W, and solve for W. Come back and check your answer with Freddie as soon as you have finished.
Okay, Alaska's just way too dangerous. I gotta get out of here. I'm gonna pick another place on this sign and head over there. But before I go, let me give you the answer to the problem that you are looking for. You should have gotten 4.5 kilometers for your width. If you did not get 4.5 kilometers, then you should check with your teacher. Wow, I made it. I made it to someplace new. Look, there's fireworks everywhere. Alright, last thing you guys need to do to finish up this lesson is to do the guided practice and rate yourself. Please try to answer number 1, 2, and 3, and then rate yourself. Are you ready to move on? Shade the section that applies to you. It's either yes or no, or you're really not sure. Great job on this, guys.
Okay, so like Freddie said, I'd like you to solve the following problems. This one says a rectangular kitchen sink is 25.25 inches long, 19.75 inches wide, and 10 inches deep. Find the amount of water that can be contained in the sink. That is simply a volume question. It's all decimals. You should be able to handle that. Find the missing dimension of a rectangular prism with a volume of 126 cubic centimeters, a width of 7 7/8 centimeters, and a height of 2. I'm going to give you a little bit of help here on this one and give you the decimal equivalent. So this change 7 7/8 to 7.875 because decimals will be much easier for you to handle at this point. And then the last question is, why can you use either the formula length times width times height or area of base times height to find the volume? See if you can answer that. When you finish, please show your answers to these questions to your teacher to see if you are correct and rate yourself. Are you ready to move on to practice? Great job.